All right, ready to dive deep into the immune system.
Always.
It's like a microscopic army right, defending us 24/7. And today, we're focusing on T helper cells, specifically Th1 and Th2.
Yeah, they're essential for how our body fights off all kinds of threats. It's kind of like,
Yeah, I'll go. I like where this is going.
well, you wouldn't send a SWAT team to negotiate a hostage situation, right?
Definitely not.
You need the right specialists for the right job, and Th1 and Th2 cells, well, they're specialists when it comes to immunity.
So we're moving beyond those generic immune cells, huh? What exactly makes these Th1 and Th2 cells so different?
Okay, so imagine a virus. It gets into your body, hides inside your cells,
Hmm.
like a tiny microscopic ninja.
Oh, see?
That's where Th1 cells come in. They're the hand-to-hand combat specialists. Rally the troops, attack those infected cells directly.
So Th1 cells, they're all about direct confrontation. What about Th2 then? What's their specialty?
Think of them as the intelligence agents.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. They're the ones who call in the antibody airstrikes. Perfect for taking down things like parasites or dealing with allergies. Less brute force, more precision targeting.
I see. So Th1, the ground troops, Th2, the air support. But before we get into all the specifics of their tactics, can we back up a second? Remind me, what are T helper cells to begin with?
Sure. So T helper cells, we call them TA cells for short, are a type of white blood cell. Those infection fighters in our blood. They're kind of like the generals of the immune system.
Right. The brains of the operation.
Yeah.
But how do they decide to become Th1 or Th2? It's got to be more than just picking a career path, right?
It is, and it's fascinating. They get these signals from special molecules called cytokines, tiny text messages zipping between immune cells.
Okay, I'm picturing that.
Yeah. Depending on the cytokine message they receive, they become either a Th1 or a Th2 cell.
So their specialty is all about the intel they get early on. Okay, let's zero in on those Th1 cells first. What sets off their alarms, and how do they fight?
So let's say you have a virus setting up shop inside your cells. Big red flag for a Th1 cell. They see that as a security breach. Their whole thing is about eliminating those compromised cells. Even if it means, a few healthy cells get caught in the crossfire.
Wow, that's dedication. How do they go about eliminating those infected cells? I mean, taking down a virus that's hidden inside can't be easy.
It's a multi-pronged attack. And it all starts with those cytokines, the messages we were talking about. When a Th1 cell sees trouble, it sends out specific cytokines, like interferon gamma, a powerful signal. It's like putting other immune cells on high alert.
So interferon gamma is the battle cry, getting everyone ready for action. What happens next?
So you have these cells called macrophages, roaming around, gobbling up invaders.
Like Pac-Man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the interferon gamma, that supercharges them, turns them into real killing machines, much more efficient at destroying those infected cells.
So it's like giving them an upgrade. Bigger mouths, faster reflexes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just the macrophages, right? You mentioned other specialized cells earlier. The assassins.
Ah, you're thinking of cytotoxic T cells. They're the assassins of the immune system, like snipers. Target and eliminate specific infected cells. Deadly accuracy, and guess who gives them their orders?
Th1 cells.
You got it.
Wow. This is an all-out war, but on a microscopic level. No wonder the Th1 pathway is so effective against those sneaky viruses. But how do scientists even know this is all happening? It's like we're talking about things we can barely even see.
It's amazing, right? Well, scientists have discovered Th1 cells have unique markers on them, almost like ID badges.
Wait, hold on. Cells with ID badges. Tell me more. It sounds like science fiction.
Think of it like this, trying to identify soldiers in a crowded room. Their uniforms tell you who they are. Similarly, Th1 cells have these specific molecules on their surface and inside that act as markers.
So like a visual cue, telling scientists, hey, this is a Th1 cell. What kind of markers are we talking about? Are they named like Sergeant Th1?
Not quite. But they have names like CCR5 and CXCR3.
Okay.
Those are surface markers. They help Th1 cells migrate to the site of infection, like a GPS system, guides them to the battlefield.
Makes sense. You got to get where the action is. But you said there are markers inside the cells too, right? What do those do?
Inside, you have markers like T-bet and STAT1. They're like the blueprints that control how the Th1 cell behaves, making sure it produces the right weapons. Think of them as the cell's control panel.
So not just having the right weapons, but also the right programming.
Yeah, exactly.
But why do scientists care so much about these markers? What can they do with this information?
It's incredibly valuable for research. Helps them track Th1 cells, study how they behave, and most importantly, develop targeted therapies for diseases. By understanding these cellular ID badges, we can figure out how to manipulate the immune system much more precisely.
That's what it's all about, because when that delicate balance, between Th1 and Th2 gets thrown off, that's when all the health problems start, right?
Absolutely. Too much of one or the other. It's like the immune system gets its signals crossed, leads to all sorts of problems, allergies, autoimmune diseases. It's all about finding that sweet spot.
So let's talk about what happens when that balance goes off.
Mm.
What kind of problems do we see when things get too Th1 dominant?
Well, Th1, they're all about fighting those internal battles.
Right.
So when they get too fired up, it's like friendly fire. On your own tissues, conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, where your immune system attacks your joints, or multiple sclerosis, MS-CePS, attacking your nerves. Those are often linked to an overactive Th1 response.
So it's not just about fighting the enemy, but also about knowing when to stand down. Scary to think our own defenses could turn against us. What about the opposite, when Th2 takes over? What happens then?
Well, Th2 is all about those antibodies, those targeted weapons.
Right.
Sometimes the targeting system, well, it goes a bit haywire. Think about allergies. That's your Th2 cells overreacting to something harmless like pollen or peanuts.
Makes sense.
Even things like eczema and psoriasis, those are linked to Th2 dominance too.
So it's like the immune system sees a ghost and just starts firing wildly, causing all sorts of damage. Really makes you appreciate that balance, huh? You need both sides working together.
Exactly. And that's a big reason why researchers are trying to figure out how to fine-tune that balance. Not about getting rid of one or the other, it's about restoring harmony.
Before we move on, what about those Th17 cells you mentioned? Like the third musketeer in this whole immune saga.
Oh, right. Can't forget about them. They're kind of a wild card. Specialized in fighting certain bacteria and fungi, the ones that like to hang out outside of your cells.
So while Th1 is handling the internal stuff, Th17 is dealing with the external threats. What makes them so unique in their fighting style?
Well, they release a different set of cytokines, like IL-17, which is like a distress signal, calls in reinforcements, like neutrophils,
Neutrophils all.
those white blood cells, super fast response to infections.
Oh, right, like the first responders.
Yeah.
Rushing to the scene to contain the situation.
But are they linked to any health problems, too? I feel like there's always a but. Unfortunately, yes. Like any powerful force, they can go overboard. Th17 cells have been linked to autoimmune diseases, like psoriasis and Crohn's disease, where the immune system attacks its own tissues.
It's like even our best defenses can backfire if they're not controlled properly. Balance, 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 right?
Exactly. Maintaining a balanced immune response, where all these cell types are working together, that's essential for good health.
All right, we've covered a lot. Let's do a quick recap for our listeners. What are the key takeaways here?
Sure. We started with those specialized immune cells, Th1 and Th2, like different branches of the military, each with their own unique combat style.
Th1 for those direct attacks on viruses and bacteria, and Th2 for the targeted antibody attacks, good for things like parasites.
We talked about how those cytokines, the little messages, guide those T helper cells to become either Th1 or Th2 specialists.
And those cellular ID badges, the markers that scientists use to track these cells, and hopefully develop new therapies.
Right. And we also talked about how an imbalance in these Th1 and Th2 responses can cause a whole bunch of problems. From autoimmune diseases to allergies, really highlights how crucial that balance is.
And then, just when you thought we were done, we brought in the Th17 cells, the wildcards, with their own special role in fighting infections, but also their potential to, contribute to those autoimmune diseases.
It's a really complex system, but it all comes down to maintaining that harmony between all these different players.
And here's where I think it gets really interesting. Knowing all this about Th1 and Th2, how do you think our everyday choices, like our diet or how much sleep we get, affect this balance?
That's a great question. It brings us to a really important point. We're not just passive bystanders when it comes to our immune system. What we do, how we live, can have a huge impact.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more about how diet and stress play into this whole thing.
Let's start with diet. Th1 cells, remember, they're designed to fight viruses and bacteria. So when you eat a lot of processed foods, sugar, unhealthy fats, it's like you're creating the perfect environment for those invaders to thrive. It fuels inflammation and can push your immune system towards that Th1 dominant state.
So like you're constantly poking the bear, keeping those Th1 cells on high alert.
Exactly. And that can lead to overreactions. But there's good news. You can actually promote a more balanced response through your diet.
Oh, tell me more.
A diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, the things we generally consider healthy. It's packed with antioxidants and other compounds that help reduce inflammation, and that supports a more balanced immune response.
So food choices can really have an impact at the cellular level. It's not just calories in, calories out. It's about giving your body the right tools to build a healthy immune system.
Absolutely. And it's not just about what you eat, it's also about what you don't eat. Cutting back on those processed foods, sugary drinks, too much alcohol, it can make a big difference in reducing that inflammation and promoting a more balanced immune system.
So it's a two-pronged approach. Nourish with the good, minimize the bad. What about stress? We know it's bad, but how does it actually affect this whole Th1, Th2 balance?
Chronic stress is a big problem when it comes to immune imbalance. When you're constantly stressed, your body pumps out cortisol,
Right.
a hormone that can actually suppress your immune system. Overall, you become more susceptible to infections. It can also shift the balance towards a Th2 dominant state, which can make allergies and autoimmune conditions worse.
So stress is throwing a wrench in the whole system, messing up the balance and leaving us vulnerable.
Huh?
So managing stress through exercise, meditation, being in nature, those things could actually boost our immunity.
You got it. Managing stress isn't just about feeling better mentally. It's about giving your immune system a break, a chance to reset.
What about sleep? We all love a good night's sleep, but how's that connected to this Th1, Th2 balance?
Oh, it's definitely connected. When you sleep, your body goes into repair mode, and that includes your immune system. But sleep deprivation throws a wrench in the whole process, increases inflammation, and might even tip the scales towards a Th1 dominant state.
So pulling an all-nighter is bad for your brain and your immune system.
Exactly. And on the flip side, regular exercise. That has a positive impact, promotes a more balanced response. But here's the thing, too much exercise can actually do the opposite, suppress the immune system.
So it's like Goldilocks. Not too little, not too much. Just the right amount of exercise.
Exactly. It's all about finding that sweet spot in all aspects of our lives to support a healthy immune system.
Wow, this is fascinating. We have way more control over our immune system than I thought. It's not just about genes, it's about our choices.
It's a powerful realization. We can influence our immune health through the choices we make every day. That's pretty incredible.
Okay, so we've talked about how our lifestyle choices, they can really impact our immune system. But there's something else, something we haven't talked about yet, and it's kind of mind-blowing to me. The fact that our bodies are full of microbes, and not all of them are bad.
You're talking about the microbiome.
Yes. That massive community of bacteria, viruses, fungi, all living on and inside us. It's like a whole ecosystem. And it's way more complex than I think we ever imagined.
It really is.
It's crazy to think we're walking around with trillions of these tiny organisms living inside us. It makes me wonder, how does this microbiome fit in with everything we've been talking about? With the Th1 and Th2 cells.
It's a great question, and honestly, it's an area where there's so much research happening right now. One of the most exciting things we've learned is how important the gut microbiome is, especially early in life, for shaping the immune system.
So it's not just genetics, it's about the environment inside our gut that affects how our immune system develops.
It's like, imagine your gut microbiome as a training ground for your immune system.
Okay, I like that.
All these microbes, they interact with your immune cells. Teach them how to tell friend from foe, help calibrate the immune response, make sure it doesn't overreact to harmless stuff, or attack the body itself.
So they're like the drill sergeants, making sure our immune cells don't go rogue. But how do they actually talk to our immune cells? It's not like tiny smoke signals, is it?
More like they're releasing these chemical messengers, molecules that interact with our immune cells, and influence how they behave. Some of these messengers can actually dampen inflammation, help the body tolerate things, which can prevent those autoimmune responses.
So they're like secret peacekeepers, working behind the scenes. This is amazing. Everything is so connected.
Absolutely. What we eat, the environment, even the medications we take, it all affects the makeup of our gut microbiome, which then affects our immune system.
So if a healthy gut microbiome is so important for a balanced immune response, how do we make sure these microbes are happy and healthy? What can we do to nurture them? Is there a special diet?
One of the best things is eating a wide variety of foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, all those good things. They're rich in fiber. And that fiber, it's like food for our gut bacteria. Helps them grow and thrive and become more diverse.
So it's not just eating our veggies for the vitamins and minerals. We're also feeding those trillions of little helpers in our gut. What about things that, might harm the gut microbiome? Things to avoid.
Processed foods, sugary drinks, artificial sweeteners, those can all mess up the balance of the microbiome, make those harmful bacteria grow and suppress the good ones.
So it's like weeding a garden. Get rid of the bad stuff, let the good stuff flourish. What about antibiotics? Don't those kill both good and bad bacteria?
Yeah, they can be a bit indiscriminate. Antibiotics are important for fighting bacterial infections, but they can also wipe out those good bacteria in our gut. So it's important to only use them when you really need them. And talk to your doctor about ways to, support your gut health during and after the antibiotics.
It seems like we're just scratching the surface when it comes to understanding the microbiome and how it affects our health. It's a whole new world.
It really is. And it just shows how we're not just individuals, but these complex ecosystems constantly interacting with the world around us. Everything's connected. What we eat, the microbes inside us, it's all related.
This has been an incredible journey. We've learned so much about Th1 and Th2 cells, those powerful cytokines, and the amazing world of the microbiome. I'm walking away from this feeling like we have so much more power to support our immune system than we realize.
It really is empowering, isn't it? We're not just along for the ride. We can actively help shape our immune health. I hope that's something our listeners take away from this.
Well said. I hope our listeners feeling more informed, more ready to take charge of their own immune health. We've covered so much today.
It's been great diving deep with you.
And to our listeners, until next time, keep exploring, keep learning. And remember, a healthy immune system starts with you.